I've never touched a line in Java. And for better or for worse, so far, Google Glass has nothing to do with Java. It probably has Java in the guts of it, but in terms of what you build on top of it, it's all web services right now. There is there's announcement that there will be a native Java developer kit. Well, it's not even necessarily Java, but it's assumed to be Java, or a very Java-like, or Android-like development kit coming out later, but no guarantee on timelines or functionality or any of that. So right now, it's largely more familiar to a web developer than anyone else. So this is Glass. I got mine by attending 2012 I/O, and anyone who went to 2012 I/O got to put their name on the list. So I was one of the people who got the opportunity to use Glass. Okay. So one of the challenges with the presentation tonight is, unless you've put on Glass, you're not really going to fully understand, what it feels like or what's appropriate to throw up in front of the eyes of your users. So hopefully, I think we have enough time that we can pass it around, or people can come up here. We'll figure out some way for everyone to try it on who hasn't tried it on, because it really does change how you think about the headset. Let's see, make sure I'm hooked up here.
What are they charging for right now?
So, good question. So right now, only people who have access to it, as far as I know, are people.
It's just tried it in Apple Sync.
Okay. I haven't actually done it yet before. It just auto reflects.
$1,500 was the last number.
Yeah, 1,400-ish, and then taxes and all that. Close to 15. So right now you can only get it by way of going to Google I/O 2012 or getting picked from the If I Had Glass campaign, which a very few number of people got picked for that. The anticipated rollout date is end of the year, though who knows as to whether that will actually hold true or not. And my presentation is very short. I want to focus more on Q&A after I do a brief overview. How many people have seen like one of the South by Southwest videos or the I/O video? Show of hands. If you've seen any videos that kind of do explainers. All right, I'm gonna try to find a quick YouTube video, just because the South by Southwest video is a good overview, but it's like 50 minutes long and it's got like audio visual problems and stuff like getting set up. So.
Okay.
Great. So let me do that first, actually. I was having trouble finding it today. This one. And I probably only have audio from my laptop here, so it'll be a little on the quiet side. Oh, you do? Fantastic. Do that. Great. These the four things we're going to talk about.
To do it, we had to do some hacking. I've got a cable connected to this demo device, the specific device I'll be using for demos. So on the side here, as you may have guessed, is a touchpad. I'm going to go ahead and tap on that. It's going to take me to the home screen. If I go ahead and slide down, it'll dismiss, kind of like the back button on your Android phone. And it can also hear me. Okay, Glass, at Google, how do you say thank you in Japanese? Oh, arigato. So you'll see that you can clap as much as you want. Totally fine. All right, mind if I take a picture? Okay, so we'll do this one.
I'm going to pause this and do commentary over top of it. So you notice he tilted his head up. That's one of the ways you can turn on Glass. So the little screen out in the corner there is what he's seeing. This is a total hacked up Glass. I can't give you that nice like preview of what I'm seeing. So we're gonna have to pass it around and do a lot more kind of using your imagination about what it looks like to actually have Glass on. But there are two ways to turn it on currently. One is to tilt your head up, and that's a configurable setting based on how many degrees you want it to trigger at. It'll turn it on. And the other one is to tap the side of it.
Okay, Glass, take a picture. Hey, there we are. So I'm going to go to that picture I just took. right? I'm here at the home screen. I'm going to slide forward. There's that picture. Don't you all look wonderful? I'm going to tap right on that picture, and I get card options. Now this picture is a timeline card. And on there, when I tap, I can get options, including share and delete. I'm going to choose share, and I'm going to share it with my friends on Google+. Done. These timeline cards, there's a bunch of them. Sydney's taking some photos and getting some updates with him. You'll notice that I have this picture. I've got the arigato. These are things that have happened in time. We're going backward in time as I swipe forward. If I swipe backward, we go forward in time to the left, and I can swipe all the way over here to some Google Now cards.
And you'll notice when he's saying swipe forward and backward, there's a little touchpad on the side here, so I can go forward and backward by sliding this way and that way. And it has like an acceleration concept, so if you like flick it, it'll go way back in the timeline.
No, yours is wireless, right? Yours is wireless, completely wireless?
It's completely wireless. And so I'll talk about a little bit more of the tech specs on it, but it has wireless capability, and it has it's kind of autonomous, but it also tethers to my phone, so it has some features on here, some features it leverages from the phone, and some of them are duplicative. Some of them are redundant.
A timeline card is just a discrete bit of data that you send to Google, and then Google syncs to the user's glass for you. Now these timeline cards can be text, images, rich HTML, it can be video. And they can also be bundles of things. Remember we saw this with the weather card. Whenever you see that fold in the upper right-hand corner and you tap on it, it'll expand into sort of a sub-timeline, if you will. Now this is what it looks like in code. And it could be just as simple as this. Is you got a text variable set to hello world, you send that to Google, and we push a timeline card to the user that says hello world. You can insert images this way,
But before, can you?
using a multi.
Before obviously it goes out, there must be some speech-to-text conversion going on. Is it built in the class or?
Yeah, so the speech-to-text stuff is not nearly as cool. There's a lot of limitations right now in terms of what your app can do with the speech portion of the application. So what he was showing there that's like the simplest thing that you can push to the glass. So I should back up a little bit and say that the way that you get software onto the glass is the user has to go to a website or some other place where they can do an OAuth handshake and say, I want to install this app. And then that basically does a handshake between you, Google servers, the glass servers, and your feed, your service. And right now it resembles much more of a feed subscription system than anything else. So the bulk of what you'll be doing is actually pushing things to the user. So this concept of timeline, pushing notifications, whether they be images or text, it's very pushy right now. There are some instances where the user can invoke your service, but the bulk of the use cases are the service invoking the user, or pushing to the user.
Art request. And you can insert rich HTML as well.
That's awesome.
HTML inside
Or you can
JSON.
do
That's
bundling.
Oh.
There's also these card options. Remember I tapped on that picture and I got share and delete? Well, you can specify that menu when you insert a timeline card, and it's really easy to do. To insert system options, all you have to do is name them. So you can see we're back to this timeline card insertion, and we're specifying in the JSON hello world. I'm also specifying an array of card options. To insert a share entity, it's a post request, but this time it's on the share entities endpoint instead of the timeline endpoint, right? So we're just sending this to a different URL. To do that, you first need to subscribe to the timeline collection or whatever collection we make available. And you specify your subscription this way by doing, again, a post request using the RESTful protocol to say, hey, I want a subscription. Here's the user token and the verify token to repeat back to me so I know what you're talking about. And here's a callback URL. This is where I want you to send the data. And then what Google's going to do is every time it gets a user action, it's going to send you a lightweight ping in JSON. It's going to include things like the timeline ID. So in the case of a picture, you'll get that timeline ID, and then you'll do a GET request on the timeline, like we saw earlier, and download the photo. Next up, guidelines. So this is really key, because it's a new platform, a new form of technology, so we need some new rules for the road. And let me just highlight them one more time on the screen here. You want to design for glass, specifically for the glass experience. You don't want to get in the way. You provide an experience for the user that's there when they want it. You want to keep it timely, make sure it's up to date and matters to them in the moment. You want to avoid the unexpected. You want to keep away from anything that's going to jar them or shock them out of their life. Does that sound like fun? Okay. First, let's start with the New York Times. It's an article about the Harlem Shake. And you'll notice it has the curl in the upper right-hand corner there, that fold. If I tap on this item, I get a bundle of all these different headlines and rich images. And if I tap on any one of these, I can get a card option for read aloud. This is really great for me, actually, because I can hear it. Okay, let's do another. My favorite email service, Gmail. I'm going to go ahead and tap here, and it looks like I got an email just a moment ago from Jenny, my colleague back in Mountain View. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but we've got game night this Saturday. And I'm going to kick her butt. Let me just go ahead and reply to this email if you don't mind. Are you kidding? I can't wait. Smiley face. And it's going to send that message to her. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail again. Next one is Evernote. So I'm going to swipe over to the picture I took of y'all, and I'm going to tap. I get my card options there. I'm going to tap on Share, and I'm going to swipe to Sketch. I'm going to tap on Sketch. And sends an Android notification to my tablet, which is right here. And as you can see, there it is right there in Evernote. I've also got some sketches about fish, and this talk that's what this talk needs, is more fish. All right, let's go back to the presentation here and go through that again in detail. All right, should we do one more? So let's go ahead and see. Oh, I got a timeline card right at the front there that I took a photo of the demo device. So that's why there's multiple me's. Anyway, this is really an excellent photo. I know, I took it. I'm going to go ahead and tap on it, and I get card options for all of these emoticons. And in fact, all the way at the end, I also have the ability to reply, which will add a comment to this post. Again, super simple, quick interaction that I can do while I'm going about my day. I'm going to choose on smiles. And that's done. Let's look at that flow. We looked at all of these things in detail. The demo gave you a quick look at the Glass UI. And we talked about the Mirror API. Remember the 4 major components with timeline cards. And we looked deeply at each of these guidelines that we've been discovering as we've been building these new experiences for Glass. And finally, we looked at some examples. And this is just where we started with a few friends to test out the API in its early stages. And that's the thing. This is where we're starting. You got to remember, and I'll leave you with this thought, that Glass is really just getting time with your dreams, your visions for using this new technology.
So, sorry for that, a lot of jump cuts. That was a 55-ish minute video condensed down to 10 minutes. It's a decent overview though. There's a bunch more videos out there. Google I/O, they record all the workshops and all the sessions, and they had some really good ones on Google Glass, including for the people who are not faint of heart, a way to totally avoid your warranty and hack into Glass and start actually doing, lower level coding. I'm going to jump over to my presentation now.
How transparent are those items?
Which item?
Well, like when you do the pictures or whatever, how transparent are they?
You mean in your field of vision?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea of Glass is to hover just above your right eye. So one of the first things that, when you pass it around, you'll notice this, when I show it to someone else, the first thing that they try to do is they squint with one eye to try to focus on that one. It takes like a good couple hours probably to really get used to having this floating information above your eye. But the idea is for it not to be a look through kind of thing, but to actually float above you. So so this would be if I was looking at the information through you, which is actually fairly opaque. And it depends on whether you're in bright light or dark light as to how transparent it is. They try to make it see-through, but only barely. And it's really designed to just kind of be this companion thing that you can look up to consult, but you can't, it doesn't get in the way.
And you can put actual glasses on it?
So not yet, not easily. So I can put these over top of my glasses, and it looks really funny. But they've said that they're trying to figure that out, and you can do it if you want to, but you just look kind of goofy, right? They come with plastic shields, like a little thing that wedges in here. They also come with shades for sunscreen, sunshades, but nothing prescription yet. So I think they're trying to work with glass. They say they're working with prescription glass manufacturers to figure out how that would work. Because the ways that the other ones currently work is they kind of go in here, they twist into place. It's very unconventional for a prescription glass kind of thing.
Is there a reason they have it on the right rather than the left?
I haven't heard if there was a thought behind that, if that was a right eye dominance thing, or what that was about, or if it was just arbitrary. There's no easy way, as far as I can tell, to reverse it. They are separate, so there's a titanium band here. I'll talk a little bit about the construction, I guess, since we're talking about it. There's a titanium band here. I think that does come off. There's a little screw right here. I think it comes off pretty easily, but there's no way for you to really reverse it, I don't think. No. The glass interface itself, if you look at it, it's actually a prism, so that's how they do the sort of the focal length thing that they do to make it readable and just kind of floating in front of your vision. On the inside here, there's actually a little, what I've heard is, I haven't taken one apart, I haven't dug into it too deep, but I've heard that there's an eye tracking camera right here, or a camera which would be implied to be used for eye tracking. The thought there, I think, is that at some point, rather than tilting your head up or tapping it to turn it on, you can just look up into that space and it will notice that you're consulting it. The other piece is it's minorly adjustable, so there's a little hinge right there that allows you to get it just right, and you'll realize the value of that once you turn it on. There's a sensor that knows whether it's on your head or off your head, like a proximity sensor here. And then there is a bone conductive speaker, is what they call it. It's a thing that just vibrates gently against your skull so that you don't have to have earbuds in to hear it. It's kind of a strange experience where it actually works better if you close your ear or you have earbuds in. You can actually hear it better because it's vibrating through your skull rather than acoustically. And it's kind of hard to hear in crowds, especially if you don't have something in your ear.
It has batteries on?
The battery, I think, is back in this section, which is also in the computer, I believe, is actually up in this section. It's incredible just how tiny they got it.
How long does it usually last?
Battery sucks. So battery's like 3.5-ish hours of heavy use or active use.
Can you talk about how it tethering to phones?
Yeah. One more note about battery though before I leave that topic. If you're just using it to do queries or send messages and that sort of thing, it's pretty effective, I think. But when it really fails is when you're doing heads-up navigation. It does have a navigate to function, so you can say navigate to whatever address, and it will stay on. The screen will stay on and give you turn-by-turn directions and give you that heads-up display for that. That's obviously very battery intensive. For tethering, like I said, it has onboard Wi-Fi. It only, if you have open Wi-Fi, you can connect to it from this autonomously. You don't have to use anything else. If you have a closed network, any sort of WPA or anything like that, then you have to generate a QR code either on your computer or on your phone, and then look at the QR code with this, and that's how it actually does the settings. So they didn't want to try to program a keyboard or anything in here to get a password. So they transmit that data via QR code.
So you
Since it has an optical reader.
recharging, you have a little cable?
Yeah, there's a little USB cable. It's kind of, it's high quality, but I mean it's kind of clunky too. So it's standard USB to a micro USB. One other thing about tethering, so it doesn't have it has Bluetooth on board, obviously that's how it tethers. It doesn't have GPS on board. It uses the GPS on your phone. So it probably, if you were inside a building and on Wi-Fi, and you said navigate to, it would probably, I haven't actually tried this, it would probably get all your location off the Wi-Fi if it didn't have to use the GPS from your phone, and load up all the directions for you and keep that so that you can do your navigate function, but it wouldn't be able to track you with GPS along your route. Use your phone for that, yeah.
How about storage? How many photos can I put?
I want to say 16 gigs. I think the storage is 16 gigs. I haven't maxed out the photos. I don't know the photo fidelity. I'm sure it's in the specs though.
When they come out with the GDK, we'd be basically able to load an Android app, an APK onto the glass device.
Doubtful. It's
Just
likely
like,
going to be much more limited than a full Android. Maybe still use the APK package system and all that for distribution, but that's all completely conjecture at this point. They said they're going to support a GDK. It's going to be client-side software, because right now there's really no client-side software, right? It's all server-side requests through REST services. And they showed a couple examples where the Glass client is invoking a REST service, but in most cases, it's more of a push kind of style communication with the device. So yeah, who knows? Hopefully by the end of the year we'll have some clarity as to what kind of language it's going to be and what kind of capabilities it'll have. Actually, didn't mean to put up the question slide. I realized why you guys are asking me so many questions. I had a couple, and a couple slides, which is fine too. We're covering most of this stuff just in a different format. So one thing you can't do, augmented reality. The first thing people thought when there was Google Glass was, oh, Terminator heads-up display, augmented reality. Not yet. You can hack it and go low level and do some of that stuff. Obviously, that's going to be very processor intensive and less battery draining. At least for this version. Now they understand the battery is super limited, the price point is super high. They have to solve those two key factors before anything else. And the other key factor is having a compelling use case, having an app that's out there, that's actually something you're going to use on a daily basis. Right. So right now this is kind of a fun convenience. Like I get to make Google queries without pulling out my phone, and I can I can take a picture, I can record a video. More than anything else, believe it or not, recording videos and taking photos is what you end up using it for, because a lot of the time you'll need to capture something before you can get to your phone. For me, like I wear tight pants, I wear the stylish pants these days. It takes a second to get my phone out of my pocket, and then I got the unlocked screen, and then I got to figure out where my camera is. Like that's a good 10-second interaction a lot of the time before I can get that photo taken. This has a dedicated button on top where I can click that, and I've got a photo taken right there. So I mean, it's like seriously about 2 seconds. It has a voice interaction like you saw in the example up there. But I use the hardware dedicated button, which makes you look stupid, but you take a picture really quickly that way, and you can hold it down if you want to start recording video instead. Yeah.
Is there a recording indicator on video, or?
On video there is, so I'll show you that.
So how does the focus work for it?
Is it on?
Yeah.
I can't see from my side.
Oh, yeah.
So how's the focus work?
Yeah, how's the focus?
It's a great question. I haven't actually tried recording anything super high up. It seems to handle focus okay though. It just has kind of infinity focus.
And night vision?
No.
Stress is on your eyes, because I noticed having to look at us all the time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest accomplishments, right? It feels very natural, like focal length-wise, to go up here, which is like right in front of your eye, to you, and further away. Like you don't have to try very hard to actually focus on it. At least after you play with it for a little bit. So I'm more used to it. But, so no augmented reality or heads-up display yet, but that's probably coming soon with the GDK. So stuff you can do. Like I said, it's very pushy. You can push any kind of news item or any sort of interesting information that you think user might want. As I say in the video, don't get in the way. Don't be too obnoxious. They give you all the power, and they trust you to use it appropriately to turn the display on and to provide an audio notification. So it has a built-in, I think, just a single audio notification. I think there's actually a way to override that if you want to do a custom audio. But it has one built in. But obviously that's annoying if that's going on every minute. So you wouldn't want this to be your audio alerts or that kind of thing necessarily.
QR, what about hands-free barcode?
Hands-free barcode?
Yep.
I don't know what that is.
Barcode scanning for hands-free.
I just regular barcode. Oh yeah, I was reading too much into the hands-free part. I don't know whether it reads barcode or not. That's a good question.
So you're dependent on having a cell phone? I mean, you can't.
Not completely. So I can take pictures, I can take video, I can, if I'm on Wi-Fi, I can use most of the data services. I'm hindered by GPS. It uses Wi-Fi as a poor man's GPS. So that's the sort of lower fidelity location service. And lower battery intensity too. You can play video with it, you can play audio with it. Like you saw, you have some custom actions. You can have it speak. It has a built-in, text-to-speech portion. So if you push a news feed, you can have it speak that to the user. The action cards are all customizable, including the delete. You can remove the delete action if you don't want the user to be able to delete the card, but I don't know why you would necessarily. A couple of the conventions that they talked about is there's a card, so every time there's something that goes into my timeline, whether it be me taking a picture or doing a Google search, or someone else pushing something into my feed, that's a card that exists in my timeline that I can swipe back to. Hey.
They have a micro SD card, so you can replace it.
I think it's probably much smaller than micro SD. I don't know. If you open it up, there may be micro SD. I don't know. But on the timeline too, if you've got, I don't think you would ever create one of these, but there are, as things get pushed into your stack, you can have bundles. They call them bundles. It's just a one-to-many kind of relationship with a card. So a card can be of type of bundle, in which case it can contain X number of sub-cards. And those bundles can be sticky. They can be pinned to the front of the timeline, so they're more prominent in the user's timeline. They can be updated too. So if you've got a news feed sort of thing, the convention seems to be don't push each one as an individual card to the user's timeline, but create a bundle and update that bundle. And then I think the user actually has the option to pin it. It might be both ways. The user might be able to pin a bundle, and the service might be able to say this bundle is pinned.
So is a category, so you're probably pushing cards into categories, right?
There's not an explicit category system. So each app can have one or many cards, and each card could be either a single card or a bundle. Okay. Oh, and tracking user location, that's an interesting thing that you didn't cover. So you can push a request to start capturing the user's location, and it will use both the Wi-Fi and I assume the GPS through tethering to monitor on some frequency, I can't remember the frequency, or if you have control over the frequency, the user's location. So it's kind of a reverse subscription at that point, right? You're saying, I want to subscribe to this user, who then provides you updates as the user moves around the physical world. And then you can do things like geofencing and all that cool stuff. That's pretty neat. At Eventful, we're actually planning on using that. So as the user's moving around, like downtown or Mesa or whatever, they get updates to their bundle. It's just a single bundle for any events that are coming up that night, because it's probably time sensitive. The user's interest would be time sensitive as you move around the real world.
So is that latitude part of the latitude experience?
Are you talking about the latitude, Google's
Yeah.
latitude? I don't think it's based on latitude. The latitude service, I think, was actually just deprecated. But I don't know what that really means for location tracking generally.
Does it have anything like Google Now where it tells you learning
Yes.
from where?
Yeah, so the Google Now stack is actually pretty limited for whatever reason. The very first screen you get is that time that they showed you with OK Glass. Let me actually bring up this. I said OK Glass, and now it's waiting for an instruction. So the first thing you see is the home screen right here. It's 10:34 of OK Glass. It's the current time, and just a hint for you to say OK Glass. That's how you get it to get your attention.
Can you train your glass to do some specific actions based on your voice command?
I don't think it has voice fingerprinting or anything like that. Now, at some point, I'm sure that would be one of
For
the
example,
use
okay,
cases.
glass, go to this page, or I don't know, take a picture.
Right, so it has a finite number of actions that you can currently do. So right now it's Google, take a picture, record a video, get directions, message, call, and video call. And the video call is using the Hangout system. So you don't have, as an app creator yet, and this is of course what everyone wants, the ability to push a voice command into that. There's probably some obvious reasons for that, right? You have name spacing issues potentially, because if you have a really popular verb or keyword, let's just say your competitor doesn't want to be able to use that keyword for their service. There's all sorts of challenges that they're trying to handle with that. They have promised that's coming, but we just don't know what flavor it'll be in or how cumbersome it'll be. Keeping that easy is going to be very difficult.
So right now, is the voice recognition done on the device or on the Google Cloud?
Good question. So on Android, they've alluded in the past they did an Android update where they pushed all that voice to text the interpretation into the client. But that's what they've said. So you can, if even if you're offline, you can speak, like, you know, your text message or whatever, and it'll write it out. So in theory, it could be on the device, but it's fast, so it feels like it's on the device. Actually, it must be on the device because I've used it offline, and it still works. Offline, you can't do a whole lot of the voice actions. You can take a picture and record a video, but getting directions, it'll fail. Doing a Google query, it'll fail. They're also doing updates monthly with new, software on the device firmware. So there are some conventions that they're even changing and breaking still. Like that home screen actually is a little bit different. Whereas before you would get a vertical list of all the commands, and you should have more commands on it. Now it's actually a horizontal list, which is easier to swipe through, left and right. Because sometimes you want to be able to use one of those voice commands by tapping. So you can tap one of these things instead of actually speaking it, because you don't want to, in a meeting or whatever, talking to your glasses. But going back to the Google Now question, so this is your sort of home screen. These are the things in your past off this direction. And in this direction are these sort of static items, and this one is basically what they've got for Google Now right now. It's extremely limited, like I mentioned. It just has your weather. It doesn't have a lot of the other things that if you're used to your Android device, it doesn't have a lot of those cool features yet. It has one to the left, or this way, of the weather, which is another Google Now feature, which is places nearby. So it shows me some restaurants and what their operating hours are, or what time they're open till. But that's as far as it goes. I haven't gotten any of the notifications of your flight's leaving and this many minutes to your commute home, or any of that kind of cool stuff from Google Now yet. So I'm sure that's coming, but it's not there yet. The other thing, as far as I can tell, is you can only tether it like 100%, like actually register it, to a single device. So this is my work device, my Nexus 4, and this is my personal device, my Google Nexus Galaxy, I think. The name's confusing.
Sorry, you said it was tethered by Wi-Fi or Bluetooth?
Bluetooth. So it's tethered by Bluetooth, but there's an additional registration process where you associate it specifically to a phone. There's a companion app called My Glass, which looks like this. It's pretty basic. I haven't hooked this up to Wi-Fi yet, and it has just a few functions. One of the functions is it actually shows you which services are installed in Glass, which things you've subscribed to, and you can unsubscribe from there too. The other function, big function that this has, is generating those QR codes for Wi-Fi that has password protection on it, and adding contacts. Once you add contacts specifically to My Glass, because it doesn't want to, I guess they assumed that they didn't want to have you navigate through 300 of your Google Plus friends, like any of us have them in Google Plus friends. But at some point, if they're really successful, you'll have too many Google Plus friends to do specific sharing to. So you add them one by one here, and then you can select them in Google Glass for doing video calls or specific media sharing and that kind of stuff. But like I said, it seems to be that once you register to a single device, you can't register to another device. You can tether it to that device, but that My Glass app doesn't work completely.
So would you have to unregister it from one phone and then
In theory, but there's nothing in the client that lets you do that. I think if I called up my Glass person, because they get like a person who walks you through Glass, they would probably be able to break that association for me, but there's nothing in the thing yet. They've gotten a lot of press that we're locking these things down for the user so they can't resell them and that stuff. I think this is part of that. I don't want these things showing up on eBay. I want them in developers' hands.
Did you say that Google was providing customer support?
Yeah, so
That's pretty new.
So this is specifically for the Glass program, the Glass Explorer program as they call it. They are doing additional level of support because they want to figure out what the compelling apps are that get developed. So it's a totally new ecosystem, right? So they have to provide a lot of support for it.
Plus you're paying money for them. You're paying a lot of money.
Yeah, a whole lot of money for it.
Yeah, this is part of the program. You pay a good chunk of money for the Glass device, but there's no service fee after that. And that will probably sunset at some point once they bring this out for consumers. So this, this is the biggest, most helpful description of the interaction between the Glass device and your service. So here it walks you through an example, Cat Facts app, everything from the OAuth registration to the push notification. So here you have the different touch points, the user's Glass, the Mirror API, which is Google's piece in the middle there, and Cat Facts is this imaginary company or service from a company that provides this app. They call their apps Glassware. The native apps, if they come out, when they come out, may or may not call it Glassware, but Glassware right now refers to these web services, REST services, that the users can subscribe to. So this is the most simple version here, where the user authenticates via OAuth 2 with CatFacts. The app then stores those credentials in an OAuth way. Then they insert things into the user's glass by way of the Mirror API. So you push something to the Mirror API. The Mirror API is that last mile to the user's glass. And then they have a couple more extreme examples here where there's more back and forth in terms of syncing a timeline, updating a bundle, those sorts of things. So these interactions are very valuable for you to understand, the limitations of the service that you can provide. All these are available to everyone. These aren't just because I have Glass or anything. So developers.google.com/glass has all the API docs. It's not protected in any way. There's a bunch of reference material too for the currently supported actions, the cards, all that stuff. They have all the guidelines here, designing for Glass, and they also have this really cool little previewer. Let's see if I can bump this down. This is huge on the screen. There we go. This little previewer allows you to mock up a card, so I can come in here and in real time, see what a card in Google Glass is going to look like. And you'll notice here it has some pretty smart settings to handle resizing. It eventually maxes out. Eventually. I mean, right, that's pushing it probably, right? In terms of the length of content you actually want to read in this sort of a device, that's probably pretty extreme.
Can you make your text and background different colors? It looks like it's just black and white.
Yeah, so this is the default, is white on black. Black is more see-throughable, so I mean, black text on white would just be more caustic to the eye. But you can absolutely do anything you want in terms of colors and image backgrounds and all this stuff. It uses just regular old CSS, and they have a predefined CSS file in terms of establishing classes that you can reference for best practice styles. And they provide nice little fades over text and things like that. But this is all just plain old HTML inside of JSON. And yes, it's a little gross, but it's accessible to a lot of people who wouldn't know how to program Java. And I think that's part of why they're using these sorts of conventions. Obviously, it's also very RESTful. It's a very RESTful kind of methodology. But it definitely, I think they're interested in making it accessible so that more people are able to develop apps. They have a couple other examples here. Here's a stock example. And here's a flight example, movie example. And this is just a table or a CSS tableless layout. And as I click on each of these, the CSS updates or the HTML rather updates over here.
So these bundles, bundles and cards, they actually get pushed to your glass.
That's correct.
And then when you go offline, they're still available to you, or?
Yes, absolutely. So they're pushed, and at that point they're on the client side, and you can reference them.
Okay, and how does it do it? What happens when it runs out of space? Does it use like an LRU or what?
I haven't ran into that
You've never
instance
run
yet.
into it?
Yeah, I don't know how they handle that. That does seem like a very logical limitation. At some point you will run out of space, and they have to handle that gracefully. You have the ability to delete things from your timeline and your videos and stuff like that, but how they handle that gracefully, I don't know.
You had a note on the screen that says that the card deletes after 7 days.
Yeah, so they do expire content out of the timeline automatically for you. Yeah.
What does the OAuth authentication process look like? Is there some kind of market that they have to distribute all these glassware apps, or how does it work?
Surprisingly, no. There's no real market yet. There's a couple websites that try to fill that gap. There's Glass Apps. So there's a couple, third-party people out there trying to fill that gap. I'm sorry, that's actually not the right one. GlassApp.org. And they tout themselves as first, glassware application. But this website's not really great. And they basically are a reference to other websites. You have to go to a website typically to start the OAuth process. So here's Trulia. They've got a new Glass app. I don't even think they link to it. It's really weird. It's very limited right now. It's more of a blog than anything else. They claim that they're like a marketplace, but it's hardly that yet. What other screens do I have? What other questions do you guys have?
What's the weight of it?
The weight?
The weight. I mean, you wear it around all day, right?
Yeah, it's fairly inconsequential. It doesn't feel heavy on your face. I don't have an actually.
And this is my first watch. My watch, even though it says waterproof, what's the integrity?
I don't know how resilient it is to water or temperature. I'm sure that some of that data is probably online in terms of temperature range, temperature operating range. But
Search for pictures of Robert Scoble
yeah,
wearing a glass.
he's wearing it in the shower. Robert Scoble did this infamous picture where he's like in the shower with his glass on.
Yeah, but with the warranty.
Fair question. Fair question.
If you're prone to losing sunglasses a lot, would you recommend having those?
Tether it, yeah, with like a chain. Yeah. It comes with this weird little case that is pretty manly. It's got a shell here at the bottom, which adds additional protection to the actual sensitive part, which is these controls. The prism itself is probably not actually that sensitive, but just the wires in between the hinge here are probably pretty sensitive. So it sits inside of a case like that, and there's no good way to hang on to it without looking manly.
Well, it seems like that's how you solve your losing problem.
Yes,
your
you know when
battery
you've
problem.
lost it because you feel like a man.
Well, no, you tether it to a battery, and then you've got all day battery life in your cable.
It doesn't get very hot. That was one of the other concerns. Obviously, one of the big problems with batteries is that they tend to get hot. And that has not yet felt hot against my head. So they've done a good job of managing that.
With regard to sharing, are you only able to share through Google Plus, or do you know you can
So they give an
send it to
example.
your phone or some other APIs?
Yeah, so you have the ability to register your app with the sharing endpoint, is how they refer to it there. So you can, again, register your intent to share with Google's Mirror APIs, in which case if the user has done that and has invoked your app, part of your application install process is to register with that endpoint, then it will be available for any of the share actions inside of the device. I think that's true. Regardless of what other app you use to record something, you have all the things to share with, which is kind of an Android convention. But by default, it's just Google Plus by default. Yeah.
So what's your social experience been like with that in public?
Fine. It gets a lot of attention, for sure. Yeah. I went to Chipotle, and all the people behind the thing were like too enamored to like serve me food. Yeah. It's awkward though. I mean, like, have you seen the Saturday Night Live sketch?
Yes.
Has everyone seen the Saturday Night Live sketch? I have to play
The boys.
Have a car wearing his glasses?
Why is YouTube not the first thing on Google?
So what does Google think about you wearing the glasses and driving?
So I have used them driving. It's pretty distracting at night in particular. I don't think they've actually. They say be smart. They're not very prescriptive about when you can or can't use it. In terms of legality, right now it's technically I think legal. It's one of those gray areas of the law, but I'm sure it will get outlawed.
Early versions of the highly anticipated Google Glass began shipping recently to tech bloggers. Here to give us his take on the new product, our weekend update tech correspondent Randall Meeks.
Kind of laggy.
So tell us, what are your early thoughts?
It's not real.
They're amazing. I used to spend so much time in my life looking down at my phone, and now, thanks to Google Glass, the phone is up here, and I can use it without being rude or distracting. You just toggle through the menu like this, and you have to activate it kind of just little.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This is great because no one knows you're doing it.
I noticed you're doing it.
Well, sure, because I told you now. Now, to give it a command, all you have to do is say, OK Glass, okay? Now, what's your Wi-Fi password?
Oh, and NBC, it's Peacock.
Great, okay. Peacock. Peacock. Password Peacock. 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 Password Peacock. Isn't this great, Sam? I wouldn't be able to talk to you like this while I'm doing it. Peacock. 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 It's that easy. They look like totally normal glasses.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
Anything. Okay, for instance, are you hungry? Sure. Yeah, great, me too. Want to some food? Yeah. What do you want?
I don't know, how about Italian?
Yeah, I like Italian too. Okay, glass, Italian. 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 Oh, no, just change the language settings to Italian. Inglese. Never. Just like don't talk while like it's doing this.
Wait, you mean if I talking around the glasses?
Don't know.
Wait, are you watching porn on your glasses?
Mute. Okay, glass, mute. There you go. Okay, now I have to reboot it.
So it's got a long way to go socially. We're definitely early adopters here. So I'm going to start passing around. I don't want to run out of time. And I'll just sit with each of you who wants to try it on. Is it easier for them to come up here or me to go around? Or how do we do this? So chaos doesn't ensue.
Yeah, I don't know, we got about 60 people in here. So first off, why don't we turn on the lights?
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah,
If it's
next
better
one.
to have glasses on.
Doesn't matter.
Okay,
It's
doesn't
fairly
matter.
visible in either. And it is, there's a word for it. It gets dark when you go outside, so it tends automatically when you go outside. Minor little features.
Might be best just to have people cycle through up to the front to meet Ian with the glass.
It might be better to pass it around.
Just pass it around.
It requires a little bit of babysitting, so I'll have to come around with you, and I can answer questions in between.
Can you kind of describe how you see where this product might go relative to what you're doing in your business? And
Yeah, so relative to Eventful, we have all kinds of APIs. We're a very data open company. We're the largest aggregator of event data worldwide. So we go out and scrape event information from websites. We consume other APIs and CSS or RSS feeds for aggregating all those events together. The output of that is recommendations. So ideally, we do some sort of profiling on you, either based on your location, based on other interests we know you like, your Facebook blogging, whatever, to try to recommend good events for you to attend, either by a performer similarity from one other to another performer that you've said you like, or some category of interest. So it's most topical, likely. It's very similar to a mobile application in terms of what sort of content the user is probably interested in. It's just more aggressive in terms of notification style, right? So it's similar to their phone, you're likely not doing large amounts of research on it. You're interested in topical stuff that's relevant to you in a very narrow time frame and a very narrow location radius. So we do two types of notifications we think are of interest to you. One is some event just got announced, some performer that we know you like just announced the new tour, and they're coming to your city. Tap here or click here or whatever to start purchasing the ticket for that or making plans for that event. So that's more the long time range and less location specific outside the city. The other one is the sort of real-time recommendations, which is I'm downtown on a Thursday night and this blues band is playing down the block. I happen to know you like blues and you're downtown, so I'm going to let you know about that particular event. Similarly, you can do profiling based on the location subscription service that I talked about. So I might track you. I mean, there's obviously some gray area, and you have to figure out what's appropriate for your application. But I might, in theory, track you and to know that you go downtown every Saturday night to check out this one club or whatever. It's the blues club or whatever. So on Thursday let's say Saturday night, on Saturday afternoon, I might notify you, letting you know who's playing tonight. So I might anticipate your schedule. So those are sort of the three use cases we've been talking about. Yeah.
How much behavior tracking can you do through your Facebook application or the cards?
So every time the user takes an action on your card, you can have it send a ping back to your service. So is that sort of the level of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything is REST?
Sorry?
Everything is REST?
Yeah, everything's REST currently. It may expand that, but that's what it is right now. And they have quick starts for Python and PHP and on Java. Yeah.
Is the development environment mostly that online editor, or is it integrated with Android Studio? Like that?
So no Android Studio, it's all HTML inside of JSON in terms of payload, but it's all REST services that you're building. So it's all server-side code that doesn't have any sort of specific front end other than JSON. But the whole front end is JSON. Yeah.
You wear prescription glasses, right?
I do.
So what are the Google glasses? I know things are blurry, right? But can you see the screen fine, or?
Yeah, for sure. Now I have just like a little bit of astigmatism.
Okay.
My prescription's pretty mild, so someone who has more of a severe, macular degeneration or something like that, you're probably going to have some problems with that, I would assume. Yeah.
I noticed you have a QR code as your
Yeah.
tattoo. Anything to do with the glass? Or?
No.
Okay.
This takes you to my About Me page. So QR codes, total side rail here, but QR codes get more complex. The little bits, the pixels get smaller the more data you load into it. So this is actually a very short URL. Anything larger than that in terms of character length, you'd have very small pixels to the point that you can't do it.
Wait, is that a real tattoo?
Uh-huh.
To About.me?
Yeah.
What if that site goes down?
It actually goes to my service, and then I forward it on to About Me.
So before we get totally distracted, is Ben, did he make it? My secondary speaker.
Yes,
Check behind the door.
Okay, so the reason I was asking for that, is there another Google Glass over there? Because I got an email saying that somebody else might show up. And if you took 1 minute per person with Ian, we'd be here another hour. So just want to put that in perspective. But
30 seconds.
yeah, I have no problem. Let's just be orderly. We being up here, or did you want to? Yeah.
Let's pass it.
Let's just.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
All right. So a couple things as you try it on. So you're going to put it on. In theory,
first. You don't mind.
If it seats on your face correctly, the screen should come on. That's part of this thing. It knows it's on your face, so it turns itself on. You'll want to adjust this potentially if it looks like it's it's unreadable. Just tilt this guide to the point that it's readable, and make sure it's all the way back on your face, up against your bridge. That's how it knows that it's. And I'll try to guide you from here because I can see it a little bit on the outside. Okay. And so by default, the weather should be so